Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is the Breaking Free show, and I want to welcome you here to the next stage of your life, I would say. The show is going to be about osmosis, in a way, because we can't always experience everything that we want to, but sometimes through people's personal stories, and that's one of the things I love about people's personal stories, is that we get to share in an experience that we might not have shared in before if we didn't experience it. So I want to welcome you here, and we're going to get started in just a minute. But before we do, I want to say hello to Amnon. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, 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 hey. How are you?
Sir, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And your week?
So far, it's been good. Been
Good.
great, actually.
Good. Yeah, mine too. It's been a great day.
So
And
let's keep it like that. It's a
what
good
el-
start. Yeah.
I have every intention of keeping it great. And I hope your day and your week has been great so far and you experienced a great weekend. And I want to start off today with a quote, but I also want to thank you all for joining us. I know that your time is precious, and I am delighted that you have chosen to share your time with us. And so in keeping with that, I want to start off by saying, this is the quote: "Every mountaintop is within reach if you just keep climbing." And that was by Barry Finlay in Kilimanjaro and Beyond. So let me just repeat that quote one more time. Every mountaintop is within reach if you just keep climbing. And that is a very fitting quote, I believe, for what we're going to be talking about today, because we're going to be hearing from two remarkable women about their trip together climbing this amazing mountain. And with that, I want to introduce to you Sarah and Sherry. And Sherry is mom and Sarah is daughter. So I want to
Hi.
welcome them here.
Hi.
How you doing?
Great.
Good. I'm glad to have you. And let me just tell you a little bit about these two women. Let's see. Sherry is a marketing director for NSA, Juice Plus, and the Tower Garden. She works with youth to grow into secure adults, is a classically trained organist, and directs a handbell choir. Wow, that's impressive. And Sarah is a 35-year-old engineer at Boeing. She is a mother of two children and author of the children's book K is for Kilimanjaro, an easy-to-read alphabet book with stunning pictures from their adventure together. And the proceeds from the book, I also want to make note of that, is helping an orphanage in Tanzania. So we're going to get more into the book in a second, but I just want to welcome these two remarkable women, beautiful women here today to share with us their story of their preparation, what it was like. I saw a video which I'm going to have in the show notes after the show, which was too long for us to show, but it's on YouTube, and it was thrilling. I mean, I could feel the chill in the air by listening to their voices. So let me welcome both of you here, Sherry and Sarah. Welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start with, so who started this thing, this idea, Sarah or Sherry? Put up your hand. Which one?
I think it was me.
It was? Okay, so Sarah, tell us about the start and why.
It started probably about, 12 years ago or so, before we actually went, when we were in Rocky Mountain National Park, and we had just tried to hike up Long's Peak, which is out there. My mom and dad and I had always been one of those families that hiked and went to national parks regularly. And we were out there trying to hike these mountains, and we read a book in the bookstore that talked about the different summits on each continent. And it talked about how Mount Kilimanjaro was the tallest mountain in Africa, but that it was a walkable mountain. You didn't need to know any technical climbing ability to be able to achieve the summit. And so that was kind of the seed that started us thinking about it, because we're not technical hikers. We really like to just hike and be out in the nature and get into the mountains. And so we thought maybe this is something we could do. So that's kind of where it started. And then we had talked about doing it for my mom's 50th birthday as a mother-daughter trip. And then at that time, when the 50 years came around, I had two very small kids, and I didn't want to leave them by themselves. So it wasn't the right time then, but Then later on in 2010, the kids were a little bit older, and we just my mom, I guess she said, if we don't do it now, I may never be able to do it. Mom, I don't know if you have anything you want to say on that, but
yeah, I mean, it's just when Sarah mentions, well, what do you think would be another mountain to hike, Mom? What about, and then when your kids, you've raised them to think about possibilities. And then I said, well, Kilimanjaro, just thinking maybe someday. Well, she took me up on that. And then we did have to make it work. I mean, we had an opportunity to do it, and our schedules agreed in January of 2011, and worked out.
So
yeah, and I had been going through a divorce, and so that was another, I guess, almost like emotional part of it, is that I really wanted to prove to myself that I could do this, not only with my mother, but also as a part of, that I was strong enough to be able to handle this. And so that was another piece of it.
So you said, Sarah, that you're not I think you said you're not technical hikers. What do you mean by that?
We don't do any of the ice picking. To climb up Mount Everest, you have to be able to handle the ropes, be able to rappel, and there's a lot of equipment that's involved with when you hike on ice, especially ice. And so we're not into that. We don't know any of those skills. Not that we couldn't learn them, but it was appealing that this was a mountain that theoretically you can walk right up. We didn't have to do any rappelling or mountain rock climbing. You can just walk right up it. I mean, it's very, very difficult, but you can walk up it.
Well, when I was doing a little research about this, and I didn't know that much about any of this, and I have to say that, I mean, I like hiking. I am petrified of heights. So, but I'll do certain things anyway, and then of course I have my limits, but I go to my limit and then a little beyond. But I watched you crawl on rock. Now to me, that's technical.
Yeah, it borders technical.
And
the narrow ledges and the steepness, and you really have to hold on with all fours, hands and feet, but you don't have to be a rappeller or an ice. You don't have to be like a Mount Everest capable hiker.
Yeah, but there were sheer drops, and I know there was a wall called the Baracco Wall that I know, Mom, you were very concerned about climbing up. So
Yes.
Why?
When you watch the video, you'll see. That's all I should say. Just watch that. It's like a 10-minute YouTube video afterwards, and it's footage of us, of especially me. You would never believe this is me.
Why is that, honey? Why would you say that?
Well, I'm holding on to a really narrow ledge, which is totally capable of me to stand on it. But below me is a sheer drop off of thousands of feet. But I'm firmly grasping it. And our guides and our porters, they also were grasping the same ledge. So I wasn't up there alone. My team was with me. Everyone was grasping this sheer Barranco wall, which was a very steep, kind of scary ascent. But I was able to do it as well.
So why would that be shocking that you could do it?
When you watch that little...
Well, I did watch. I did watch. And for me, would be, I put somebody down under, because there's no way, I mean, I could see myself doing it, but you did it. So why is that so extraordinary? What were you like before? Are you scared of heights? What?
Oh, okay. No, I mean, we've always loved the Rocky Mountains in Estes Park, Colorado. My husband and I went there on our honeymoon. We used to take the kids there. That's our favorite national park. And we've always tried to do some hiking. And I do know that you can climb up a rock hill by holding on with your hands. I mean, it's not too scary. So I just know if you get a good grip. But again, this altitude was almost 19,000 feet at the summit. And I do okay with altitude. The thing is, my personality, the kind of way I'm wired, is that just take one step at a time. You don't have to zoom to the top. And so I know that I probably could do it if they could just go slow enough for me.
Right.
And at times, I could tell I was going very slowly, but I was confident in my ability to keep going. I have that inner physical stamina, I think maybe from Juice Plus for 15 years or whatever, and also just doing some mild exercise. I'm not superwoman by any chance. It's not like I work out and do bodybuilding or anything. I'm just a normal, fit, nutritiously fit and physically fit woman. So,
But I think the thing is, when you look at when we started that wall at the very bottom, you look straight up at the thousands feet you have to climb, and you can see that whole wall straight above you, and you basically just have to focus on, the few feet in front of you and the handhold that you can get at that moment, and where your guide is stepping and where your guide is putting their hands, and that's really how you achieve it. And you take it little small chunks at a time to be able to climb up that wall. So when you look at it down at the bottom, it's hard to imagine that you can actually climb up that wall. But then, focusing on not looking down, not really looking up either, just kind of looking where the person in front of you is going, we were able to make it.
Right. It's interesting. Somebody had some kind of trauma or something I was going through many years ago. I don't know if it's trauma, but just life, was hitting me in the face. And somebody said to me, just like you on a tightrope, don't look down, don't look up, just look straight and stay on the rope. That's all. Just don't look down, because if you look down, you're going to wobble. Just look straight ahead and you'll be all right. And so
Yes.
all of these things are so extraordinary, because everything like this becomes a metaphor for life in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's one of the things that I want to talk to you about and I know that I believe it was in the video, at the end of the video, that you were giving some metaphors for life, some of your personal quotes that you came up with, and we can, bring that up, because I think that these things are so such an example of what we're capable of doing. Like you just said, you don't look at the whole thing, you look at just step by step. And you take it step by step. If you look at the whole path, oh my God. If I said, okay, here I am today, and I want to be this, I may not, that's like, oh my God, do I want to be, how am I going to do that? But if I take it step by step, I have a good chance of accomplishing my goal. Plus, Sherry, you also said about going slow. Sometimes we have this thing where we have to rush through things, life and experience, and if we just take it step by step, and I know in the video you even made a point of saying, you used a word that your guides used, right, about going slow.
yes, pole,
Pole, which means slow,
slowly,
slowly, so that you can focus. What happens when you do this slowly? What happens?
It's really about acclimating to the high altitude. So the pole is basically the motto for getting up to the top of Kilimanjaro, because most people that fail try to do it too quickly. So you really have to go slowly to get to the top, so that your body has time to acclimate to that less oxygen.
Yeah, isn't it? When we can acclimate ourselves to what we're doing, when we can consciously feel it, then we're more apt to be able to handle it and feel our strength. But when we rush through things, we're not conscious and connecting with our heart, we will end up just not experiencing the feeling.
Well, interestingly enough, Marilyn, the trail was the kind of trail where it was another good analogy for life, because the trail went up and then down and then up and then down and up and then down to get us acclimated to the altitude. But some people would say, well, why don't we just go straight up to the top? Why do we have to come down and then going up the next day? But it does help you. It's the Machame route. It's one of the more difficult routes because of that up and down. Some take more time and go much more gradually. But we did do the up and down. And again, it's another analogy for life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give up. So there's downs, so there's ups, but you get stronger along the way.
Right. So you chose to do the most difficult one to get up to the top. Is that right?
The most difficult non-technical. There's technical climbs that require those other skills.
Okay. And then there are easier trails. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what would
But they didn't
along the route or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't necessarily have the same rate of success. We chose the route that ended up being the most difficult, but it also had the highest rate probability of success to get to the top.
Explain that, because if why would a more difficult trail be easier to accomplish than an easier trail?
That's a good question. The reason is because a lot of the ones that are easier from the perspective of it takes less time. Some of our Machame route took 7 days, but there were other routes that took less time, 3 or 4 days, but you are going straight up. And so in some regard, it would be easier because you didn't spend as much time in that rigorous hiking phase, which we did. But it also allowed us to prepare ourselves for the summit hike, whereas the routes that took 3 or 4 days might have been easier from some perspective because you were able to do it more quickly. They didn't. A lot of those folks had more difficult time at that summit day.
So did you have specific? I know that when I watched the video, and you really all have. We'll post the link to the video. It's really extraordinary. But I remember hearing Sherry, like having a hard time talking.
Yes.
So I know that was one extraordinary challenge. What other challenges did you have, Sherry?
It was very, very cold at the summit, especially. The challenges I had on a daily basis were just. I don't think I had so many challenges if they would let me just go slow.
Oh.
And, I just went slow. But then when we did do the summit, I remember the guide talked to me every night after dinner. The guide would come and talk to us a little bit about the next day. And he just said, I think they were thinking I could not make it to the summit because of my slowness. And he said, Mama, they called me Mama, Mama, I think you can do this. And he didn't look so hopeful. And I just thought, oh no. And I just thought, well, I'm going to do what I always do, just keep going slowly and surely and not take an unsafe step. And so I went ahead and did that. And it was just so cold. My hands, by the time we got to the top, I had trouble breathing. The air is so thin. And I'm a person that likes to eat constantly, just a little digression. Everybody who knows me knows, but I fuel my body constantly. I'm a grazer. Well, you have to probably go about 12 hours without eating to get to the summit. You just can't stop. It's bitterly cold. Wind is blowing. When you hear the wind on the video, that's the truth. So I was just starving and I was freezing. So beyond that, it was fine.
Did you want to turn around and go back, Sherry, ever?
No, because the route down was different than the route up. And so I could not go backtracking down. It's very dangerous, volcanic rock, all sharp and jagged. And,
right.
Once you're committed, you're in it. You just have to go through.
Wow, that's another big metaphor. Once you make that commitment to do something, you don't negotiate your way out. You got to go for it. What about you, Sarah? What challenges did you have? I know you're young.
Yeah, it was probably. Well, the whole thing was a challenge. It was the hardest thing I ever did. There's no question about it. The day we went up to the summit, that was very difficult, hiking up in the pitch black darkness. We had to start at midnight, and basically all we had was our headlamps looking at the person's feet in front of us as we, marched up the summit.
Did you ever start to cry? I mean, I watched that, and I would have been. It was all you saw were these little teeny twinkle of a light in the video
Yes.
of them trekking up this thing. I mean, I would have been bawling.
I did not cry on the way up. On the way down was probably my biggest challenge. I think up to when you're climbing up, I still had that goal in mind of, I want to achieve that summit. And so you're very passionate. You've got this adrenaline going. You want to achieve it. After we hit the summit and we came back down and we started going back down, the sun was up and you could really see there's something to be said about going up in the middle of the night where you can't see how far you have to still go. So you just keep going slowly, one step at a time without really knowing the challenge that we had ahead of us. But once the sun rose, we were on top of the mountain, you could really see, oh my goodness, there's where we have to go back down. And when we were on our way down, that was really when I hit my low point. We had been hiking for, 10 or more hours, and it was sheer exhaustion, and your legs are ready to just give out, and there's no one there to carry you down. You had to do it all by yourself, and the ground was very loose, and you could just slide down. And
the volcanic dust. Yeah.
It was very, very, very difficult of hiking down. So that was my lowest point.
Goodness gracious. I'm sitting there, and I mean, it really is exciting to hear what you did, and that you didn't take it lightly. That you were scared and you forged forward anyway. I mean, I was telling some friends we went hiking a couple of weeks ago, and up in the North Carolina mountains, and there was a trail that we've been talking about going on, but I mean, I'm not always that steady, and I can't, and my light sensitivity is tough, so I don't see, I might not see the difference in something because I have, light issues. But it was a mile up and down, but then it was 2 miles straight up. And it was exhausting. And then the next day we did another one that was, I found myself doing things I've never done before. And it just feels so good. I will never forget how it felt. I mean, my little Kilimanjaro, feels great. It feels great to make these accomplishments, to accomplish whatever it is in your life that you set out to accomplish. And having people to do it with, I think, is one of the things that I like to kind of focus on, is the two of you having shared this together. And then Chris is asking a question about your children, Sarah. I know that you have children, and I know you mentioned it in the video about, their participation in, this was kind of like a family affair. And your daddy, Sarah, your husband, Sherry, actually was your video man on the trek. So, I mean, it takes a village and cooperation from a family to do these things, right, Sarah?
Absolutely. I wanted to make sure my kids were a part of it every step of the way. I was in Africa for 3 weeks, so this was the longest I'd ever been away from, the kids, and I wanted them to understand, that this was something I had dreamed about for so many years, and that it takes a lot of hard work to achieve some dreams in life, but that you can definitely achieve them. And I wanted them to understand how difficult it was. And so I got them involved every step of the way from, when you prepare to hike up, to do a hike like this, you spend months hiking. So my kids really got very physically fit along with us. We took them hiking everywhere. We did bring, we made some energy bars, homemade energy bars, granola bars, and the kids made those with us and helped me make them that I brought over there and we ate. And, one of the things that did inspire me to try to write this children's book was I really wanted to sit down and be able to share and help them understand what this mountain really was all about. and there wasn't any children's book available that did that. And so that was kind of where I said, well, I'm going to try to do this so that, when I come back, I can dedicate it to my kids and have them share in the experience from the very beginning. And, so that's really what I set out to do with that.
Before we actually went live today, I had the pleasure of speaking with Sherry and Sarah for a few moments, and one of the things I asked but didn't want to answer to my question then was why a children's book, and I just got my answer. From what we want our children to understand what it means to dream a dream and to accomplish a dream. It's very important that we all do that, but we certainly want our children to be able to dream the impossible dreams and create possibilities, even though you may not even attempt all those possibilities, but to be open and free enough to be able to, think them up, process them up. So, for me, now I think I understand a great deal about why Sarah wrote the book for children, even what's her name? Maya Angelou always said, if you want to write a book, if you want to read a book, you want to understand something, read a children's book. She always would say that. So I would suggest. So Sarah, just tell us the name of your book again, and we're gonna. Do you have the picture of the book, Ahlen? Did you get that? What's the name of the book?
It's called K is for Kilimanjaro. It's basically an alphabet book that starts with arriving in Africa, all the way, through our journey, and it's got a series of pictures that were taken on our trip up there. Some, by my dad, he's done some very good photography here in St. Louis, and I know our guide. It was pretty funny because I had an outline of everything I wanted to capture while we were on the trip for this book to make sure that I captured it. And he said continually that he had never had people that he was guiding that had taken so many pictures.
Oh my gosh, really?
So
never?
Yeah.
In all those years, what he'd say, 7 years he's been doing this?
Yeah, he had never seen anybody take that many. So we really wanted to document and capture our journey, and it was a trip of a lifetime.
So Sherry, I want to, because I know that the question I asked, we kind of deviated a little bit, but I want to know from your perspective about sharing this experience with your family, your husband being involved, your grandchildren, and certainly your daughter. What would you say about that?
I think for me, it was just seeing how you raise your kids, and it's awesome to see them. I tried to also role model fulfilling my dreams and accomplishing them. And then when they did, my daughter Sarah, and we have another son, David, all through high school, all through grade school, if they had looking in them for ideas that show who they are, and then encouraging them to become more of who they are and what they enjoy, and backing off enough to let that happen, but being there, of course, as an emergency blanket, but not trying to run the whole show, and then seeing it being instilled in the grandkids too. We took them hiking in the winter in the snow and got to get ready for the trip, and we could have tried to baby them along, but no, they hiked those trails with us in the winter, and the video shows that too. But and then of course my husband's been there for us the whole time, and he enjoys some of the same things I do, so I knew he'd go for the trip, and he didn't want to sit by anyway and let us do it.
It sounds too much fun, huh?
Yeah. He said he could never tell the guys at work. He just stayed home.
Right.
So anyway, it's great.
How long did it take you to prepare?
I'd say 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to, even before we pulled the trigger on purchasing the tickets and everything, we were seriously talking about it and kind of starting to hike. And then probably 3 months before we left, we did some serious hiking every day.
What's serious
really,
mean? What do you mean
yeah, that's,
serious?
Sorry.
What's serious every day?
Probably a half hour every day. I guess that's not too serious. Probably an hour every day of hiking after work.
Straight. It was up and down hills. Sarah happens to live near some place that has about a mile and a half, 2-mile trail.
Yeah.
Has a lot of good ups and downs on it, so it made it very convenient to do it. And then, of course, there's all the getting ready with the, well, not just for fashion, okay? Normally, I have friends that are image consultants and all, but this is a different type of fashion. But still, you don't want to look horrible in your hiking gear, and you have to have the different layers because you have to take clothing off. In the video, it kind of goes and shows the different pieces from bras and underwear, and it has to all be wicking and wick the moisture away, but yet keep you warm. Right. To the long underwear and the ski pants for the day of the summit.
So you didn't change your clothes, did you, on the trek at all?
Well, you do. You change your underwear and your clothes every day. Yeah, you have a couple changes of clothes with you. And, so that we didn't want our luggage to get lost in case, when you travel, your luggage can get lost. So we traveled with our carry-on being our backpack with our everything needed for the trip, just in case, because I've traveled before and Sarah has too, where the luggage gets lost and then you're sunk. So we had everything we needed for the trip in our backpack as a carry-on the flight.
So what is it, and I want to get into the actual specifics of certain things, but what is it about this that you want women to know? Because I know that was important to you. Sherry, what did you...
What we want women to know, did you say?
Yeah. I know that there was something I read.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Women. Okay, listen to this now. This is so important. Be sure that you tell people that I didn't realize I was sort of out of it at the summit. And so I wanted my picture with, I had my hood, I had like 2 or 3 hoods, and I wanted my furry brown hood, which was going to make me be so cute forever and ever. These pictures are going in all the family albums and all my friends and like even this show or whatever. But here, the wind blew my hood off, and later on, I see my pictures. I'm like, oh no, it's that ugly green hood or whatever it was. And so I'm just saying, have a, how you have an advocate if you go in the hospital, which I've heard people do that. You should have an advocate or somebody to help you look nice for your summit picture. Pick out what you wear and tell them.
So it's you know what? That's great because it's okay to feel that way. I mean, it's okay to do a trek or work hard and still want to look good at the same time. It's all okay, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sarah, what about for you?
So first off, for one of the things that's very important to me is that I feel pretty strongly that, women we're underrepresented a lot of times in the hiking industry in general. And I know when my mom and I started talking about doing this, that was another thing we had a very difficult time finding out was what's a female perspective on climbing Mount Kilimanjaro? What are some things that women should take into consideration when they're going to do this hike that's maybe different from men? Because, not just how we look, but, the gear that we bring or, that we may need, it may be a little bit different. And, we had a difficult time finding a lot of stories about women that climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So, it is one of those things where there are a lot of women that do it. We saw several women on the mountain actually by themselves with a guide that were doing it. So anybody can do it. And that was something that I wanted to make sure, we at least, recognize and acknowledge. But one of the items that yes. I know my mom and I were very excited to discover as part of this trip was this item called a freshette.
Very important.
So, yes, we were both worried about using the restroom or using the outhouse along the way up this mountain. And, being a guy, you have a little bit of an easier time of it when you have a hole in the ground to go to the bathroom in. And so somewhere in some guidebook we were reading, it mentioned this freshette, and we investigated it, and it's really this device that allows you to a female to go to the bathroom like a man, and it was incredibly useful.
It's only $20 and it's natural. It's available.
What is that? Wait a minute. Whoa. What does that mean? Go to the bathroom like a man.
It's basically a device that you can pee in that allows you to pee while you're standing up, and so it made it a lot more convenient when you're hiking and you don't have to physically undress half your body if it's cold, or it's just easier to go to the bathroom.
But that does make sense, actually. You don't even think about that. Oh, it was one other thing that I heard you say, which also you don't have to do an extraordinarily huge hike like what they're talking about, but even several hours and I like my husband and I last year or 2 years ago, we hiked a little bit on the Appalachian Trail, and it was freezing, and it was snowing, and it was icy, and all these things. But you gave a little trick about turning your water bottles upside down so the tip wouldn't freeze. And I was like, wow, isn't that interesting and make perfect sense?
Yep. Those are the little things, that the guides really helped you learn about on your way up. That the guides were so incredibly useful. They really helped us in so many ways. I don't know how we would have done it without them. And actually, Kilimanjaro National Park does not even allow people to hike up the mountain without a guide. You have to have a guide with you, because the trails are somewhat well marked, but they have had people that have wandered off and have gotten lost, never to be found again. So guides are very important, and they do give tips like the water bottle thing and so many more. They know that mountain like the back of their hand.
So I want to ask you, cost. I know you had a lot of people in your crew. So can you share with us what something like this would cost?
I can't remember specifically. It's been a while. $3,000, do you think, Sarah, or $4,000? I can't remember.
I was going to say, I think after all said and done, mine was closer to $5,000 when you include the airfare and all the gear and the trip. That did probably include a little bit of a safari afterwards, because we did like a joint. The company that we did a joint safari and the trek up Mount Kilimanjaro. So we used the same company for both. But it was about $5,000 for me, my own person, and but we did have, like you said, we did have a whole crew of people supporting us. For the three of us, we had 15 porters and a cook that accompanied us up the mountain to help carry gear, tents, tables. We ate at a table for dinner and lunch. I mean, it was. In some ways, it was the most luxurious camping experience, backpacking experience we'd ever had. I remember the first lunch that we had, I think we were just shocked that there was a table there with chairs sitting waiting for us. So they took very good care of us. They fed us very good food, and kept us, full of energy, feeding our bodies as well, so that we could make it that hike.
I mean, I suppose that there are people who do the hike that don't go with the same kind of luxury, don't have a whole team, or is that just the way it goes?
I think that's more the way it goes.
Yeah.
So I had kind of a mixed emotion about using the porters, to be honest, because, you look at us and you think about the luxury that we live in and how little some of these people have. And I remember when we pulled up to the gate to go into the national park, there was a huge line of people that were waiting to be porters. They were waiting to basically get offered a job to accompany someone like us up the mountain and have that job. And that was just a very eye-opening experience to me. to know that basically we were helping these people. It was their job to do this, and we developed very close, even though we did not speak the same language. We really fell in love, I think, with our whole crew, and I think at the end it was a true bonding experience with them. It's you not only, something like this doesn't just bring you together with your family, but it brings you together with the people that help you along the way. And we really developed a bond with we had 2 guides actually, and I think it was kind of unique with our team because we had 3 other volunteers from the crew to actually accompany us to the summit. So we had a huge amount of people that came with us up to the summit compared to most other groups where I think they had the clients and maybe a guide.
Right.
So I think that shows that people wanted to see us succeed. They were going to be there with us every step of the way. And it's about the relationships that we developed with our crew on the way up.
And then we're still Facebook friends with the guides. And
yes.
And if you watch the video, you'll see the little celebration at the end.
Yeah.
But one of the things we do is we were encouraged to do from other visitors was to leave, if we wanted to leave sleeping bags or coats or anything for the guides to then, or the porters to use. Those were sort of gifts at the end of our trip that we could leave for them to use next time.
Because when you think about it, I mean, for you, Sarah, for it's just to $5,000, Sherry maybe around that same amount. When you think about going away for 3 weeks, and having had this experience, all these people supporting you, and I mean, it's it's not a terribly expensive opportunity, really, to have gone that way. And I can certainly go ahead.
And some of we did save some money, I believe, by using a local company. So when we first started researching companies to use to take the trip, we started out by looking at American-based companies that I guess had a partnership with someone in Africa. We knew someone that had done the hike using a company in America and had reached the top, and we initially started up by looking into that company, using them. But they ended up being about twice as much as the company we used, which was a locally based company in Africa, which made me a little nervous. I was the one that found the company online, but with the reviews that I had read, and I actually corresponded with several people around the globe. Some people in Netherlands had used them, and in Australia. And talking with them, I felt comfortable enough to use this company in Africa, and they were great and phenomenal, and half the price.
Very interesting. So the whole trip took you how long?
7 days.
The whole thing, up and down.
Yes.
And there are trails for people to do that are. I mean, you made a point of saying anybody can do this. Anybody can do this with having a certain mindset. Not just anybody can do this.
Though about 50% of the people that try to climb up the mountain succeed. So there's a quite a high failure rate, I guess, if you want to think about it. People that fail are the ones that are not prepared. You have to be prepared. You have to train. You have to take the right precautions. And sometimes it's just, the weather. There are things that are out of control. We were fortunate that when we were there, they had really great weather. The week before that, they had this huge snowstorm, and people that our guide had been taking up were not able to reach the summit. So we were very fortunate in a lot of ways, but we also prepared a lot too. So I think there's a combination of doing that preparation and then good old-fashioned luck.
Sounds perfect. I just want to mention to everybody out there that if you would like to call in and speak with Sherry and Sarah, please feel free to do that, 919-518-9773, or you can call us in on Skype at computers, that's plural, the number 2K voice, and we won't see you, but we can hear you. And also, you are welcome to chat. Just put your name in the little window to the right of the video, and you can take part in some of what's going on the chat. So you prepared yourself physically. How did you prepare yourself emotionally?
I don't know that I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just think my being who we are is pretty much that we would just do it. Or I don't know what emotionally meant.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I would say that I felt like I was prepared, but I think that's one area where you don't really get a chance to push yourself to that level of emotional and mental stress that you experience when you're doing something like this. I know I've always thought I had a really strong relationship with my mom and dad, both of them. And, as we were hiking up this mountain, our relationship got pushed in a direction that I don't think I would have ever anticipated. And it went, we had a swing of, I would feel very frustrated with, my mom, especially with the going slow, as she's mentioned several times. I definitely was on a faster pace that I wanted to go. And, but so I got frustrated because I wanted to make sure that we made it to the top also. But it also brought us closer together emotionally and mentally because we were able to share this experience. We made the decision the day we were going up to summit, like my mom said, the guide had actually recommended that maybe we go separately to the top. They were going to take my dad and I up first and then go later with my mom to summit because they were worried about her being slower. Or they were going to start with you, Mom. I forgot.
Long time.
We're going to start with you and then let my dad and I go up later. And we made a decision as a family unit that we were going to go up together, that we were either going to all make it or we were not going to make it, but we were going to do it together. And that was, something that we, worked through emotionally and mentally. And even though making the summit was important, it was important to do it together.
Right. Sherry, did you have something to add to that?
I guess just the emotions of how proud I was to see, as you said before, how you raise your kids. And then my daughter came up with this idea, how she really did coordinate the trip ahead of time because she found the company in Africa and coordinated the charity outreach that we did while we were there. And just to be so proud of her. And it's just wonderful. So, but you have to encourage your kids and be there for them. But like I said, don't try to be controlling everything. I mean, I'm a capable woman too. I could have controlled the trip, or I think a lot of mothers, they're like, oh, just come home, I'll do your laundry, I'll cook for you. I mean, but you just have to let your kids do things on their own. And here's the example. Now she's totally capable woman, and I realize that too, that I am getting older, and she's now middle-aged herself.
Oh gosh, let's not go there.
Thanks, Mom.
Because I feel middle-aged now, and I'm a lot older.
She's very young. I'm middle-aged.
I wanted to say, first of all, I think that the preparation is something that you do your whole life. I think we're preparing for these moments, maybe, all kinds of moments. Some of them look a lot simpler than this, but they're still extraordinary nonetheless. And I think we prepare for them our whole life. And it's never too late to start preparing for something, because whatever the next challenge is for you, you've been in that preparation for that, and you're ready for that. So I do believe that's important. I also wanted to ask, and as I was thinking this, you were kind of saying something about, not controlling things. Sherry, was it hard for you to be a mommy on this trip as well, even though, you had to put your one foot in front of the other as well, and it was quite challenging, and at the same time, here you are you have your daughter and you're a mommy. So what position did that put you in?
Right. It is always a difficult thing for moms, I think, because even now, that mother-daughter relationship, you know, every now and then Sarah will reach out for advice on something, and then, but she doesn't need advice on everything. So just when to balance that, and then to be there for help and encouragement for her on the trip, on this hike, was good. I mean, I helped her out a little bit with, maybe arranging her pack or things like that that I can help her. We can help each other with. I was able to do those kinds of things, or help her remember things, or don't forget this, or which route are we going to take. But she's very capable, so at least on the hike it was, and really on a daily basis in real life too.
So Sherry, how are you different now?
I think it helped me put me over the top as far as realizing who Sarah is capably.
What about as far as you and who you are?
And as far as me, I just said to myself, because I was older when I did this, right? And I have some accomplishments that I've achieved the same way, even in life. I'm a CPA, but I didn't do it the fast way. I'm not a brilliant mathematician. I've achieved that. Learning to play the pipe organ is very difficult and requires loads of practice, and I was not gifted at that either. I practiced long and hard. So I mean, and hiking one of the Colorado 14ers and other things like that. So I kind of thought in my core that, okay, well, I could do this. And so I feel like check, like I'm able to say, I knew I could and I did, but is that what you meant?
Yeah, and it's more than I meant. So that's great. I had no attachment to what I meant other than just the curiosity of how you're different. And I think the notation that you don't have to be the best, the biggest, the greatest, the fastest, the most smartest, the most whatever. You just have to do it and do your best to complete or accomplish something. You don't have to, set out to be the fastest, because I can guarantee you I would be coming in last. But coming in is most important. When doesn't really matter.
Right.
So that's
and it just underscores the confidence level, I guess, for me. That's
absolutely.
I'm confident that strategy works.
Yes. And what about you, Sarah?
For me, I think not only the same thing that my mom said about, being able to achieve something that you've dreamed about for so long. There's no doubt that is a huge life-changing experience, because you look forward to it for so long. And I definitely remember on the summit thinking, I have actually achieved, my dream. This is the moment. You have to savor it right at this moment, because here you are, and you've worked so hard and thought about it so long, and you just look around and you want to capture that moment forever in your mind. And, one of the things that really changed me, I do believe, is that, when you're able to accomplish something like that with other people around you, it bonds you in a way that you can't really reproduce. I think when you go through I don't think you necessarily have to climb the top of the tallest mountain on a continent, but, when you have a difficult situation occur with someone else and you're able to work through that and have that come to greatness at the end, there is just a bond there that, I know I have shared this with my parents, and it's something that we will have together that no one else has experienced for the rest of our lives. Right. And that will be a takeaway for me that, I'll have for the rest of my life. And I want to recreate that with my children, something on this level, to experience with my kids that is life-changing for them,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And especially in that bond and the challenge and the opportunities, I mean, in those emotional moments is when we really can have that aha moment with somebody else, and you never have to repeat it. You never have to talk about it. You just know you have it. I'm going to ask Amnon to go ahead and show he has a slide that we can show. And at the same time, I'm just going to say we have a PowerPoint, there's video. We're going to post it all in the show notes so you can have access to all of it. We'll have it up and running. But we've had such a great conversation that I didn't want to interrupt the flow. But here's a picture of, and I don't see it yet, so it's a picture of the book. Yeah, that Sarah did. Yes, here we go. It's a picture of the book, and it documents their journey, but done with an alphabet, so that anybody could look at this book and not just feel the experience, but learn about where they were and how they traveled. And it's a great book to use for yourself or with your children. Any words about the book, Sarah?
Just that it's something that you can read with your kids and, teach them about something on the other side of the world that they may never experience, but that people, experience every day. And it's a journey about, a challenge to accomplish a major hike across the world.
Well said. So in closing, Sherry, what would you like to say to our audience in closing? And to me, because I'm listening with big ears.
Okay, well, I think my philosophy is just take one step at a time. That's my approach to life, and do some good along the way. Like we went to the orphanage and still keep in touch about that and proceeds of the book. But just, you don't have to do, again, just like accomplishing amazing things. I don't have to give a huge new community center to our community, but I can do some good along the way while I'm hiking very slowly.
Cool. That's perfect. And what about you, Sarah?
I would say, one thing that this has inspired me is to just dream big, keep dreaming. There's always something that you can dream about doing one day. And I think it helps, you motivate to be better and to keep going and enjoying life.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate both of you coming on and sharing this experience, because it definitely allows us all to know that you don't have to be the fastest. And it's about self-actualization, self-realization, self-something. It's not for other people. We do this for ourselves. This is what we do with this. These kinds of things for you. It's not showing off. It's what is it that you accomplish, because in that, then you are good for somebody else. Then you are there for other people. Then you're there for your children and for the world. So do it for you first, and then the result, whatever that result is, you can take out into the world, just as these beautiful women are doing. So I want to, Sarah, you had a little smile when I said that.
Because I believe it. I agree 100% with what you said.
Yeah, thank you. And Sherry, thank you.
That's true. You have to do your own things and not just do. I think women so many times get caught up in doing for others and neglecting themselves. So definitely accomplish things yourself for your own self-worth and for your own value, and then that's a great role model for your kids and role model for other women. I'm all over that. That's why Women's Power Network is such a good group, because just the words Women's Power Network, we're helping empower other women accomplish their mission and their dream and their businesses and friendships and all. So.
Terrific. Well, I want to thank you both very much for being here, and I want to thank all of you out there. And remember, it doesn't have to be the biggest and the best. It just has to be a challenge for you. Just like they said earlier, they didn't do a technical hike. They did a hike that was a stretch for them, and then maybe next time they'll do another hike, and we'll have to find out about that one, because we're done with our time right now. So thank you very much, both of you, very, very much for being here, and all of you out there, thank you so much for joining us today and taking this ride with us on this mountain. I look forward to seeing you all here next week when we bring you another extraordinary show. And I'm Nan. And to you all, thank you. Bye. Have a great day.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Bye. Thank you so much, ladies.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.